You don't know, babe, when you hold me and kiss me slowly, it's the sweetest thing. Oh, I can't remember the rest of the lyrics, but that song is what's playing in my mind while I'm looking at this sunshine and I'm looking at this view. Now, don't get it twisted. It's fucking cold, okay? It's 8 degrees out. It is not warm, but I want to go out so fucking bad. But it's like every single time I get up, there is pain fucking everywhere, and I don't even know where it comes from. It's just, oh, I want to go out so bad. But then why go out when I can just stay and do another internet video? Look at it. It's gorgeous. It is beautiful. Look at that. So gorgeous. And you know it's the afternoon because the sun's all the way to the west, right? You see, that's what I love about living here. It's like, you know what type of day it is by which direction the sun is in and which direction the moon is in. Ah, you can't beat this. You cannot beat this. You cannot. It's so beautiful. But I just want to go out, man. I just want to go out. But I feel like there's always an excuse in the way. I don't want to deal with no gang stalking bitches. I don't want to deal with people disrespecting me. I don't want to deal with these aches in my body. It just feels like one excuse after another not to do something healthy and low impact and, you know. But it's just... it's just like, oh, I wish I could just go out, man. I really do. When it comes to folk upstairs, they're not here, so there's no screaming, there's no yelling. It's just been wonderful today. It's been wonderful. It means I've had time to collect my own thoughts. Oh, today has just been so beautiful. Like today has just been beautiful, and I'm here for it. I love it. This war is getting worse. And it's just... this war is just getting worse. It's just getting really, really bad. When it comes to African and Caribbean folk in the Ukraine, their governments have only just started getting them out or just started helping them. And it's, as of the 24th, there had been like virtually no help from their own governments. And I'm just sitting over here thinking, if they were American, that there would have been evacuation plans already. So if those black people were in the Ukraine, but they were American, they would have been gotten out. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's better the devil you know in comparison to the devil you don't. Just because I'm living under a government and in a country that looks like me and that has my culture or has remnants of my ancestral culture, it does not automatically mean that I'm going to be looked after, because I'm going to be bringing everything that I've learned from these foreign countries into that one. It's me, it's not necessarily people like me, but it's people who have come over here and who are returning to the country who are bringing their skills and resources with them. It's not necessarily going to be a thing that just because we end up there, we're going to be looked after and taken care of. And this Ukraine situation has proved that. Now, again, African governments are stepping in. The South African government, especially, they're stepping in. So it's not like they haven't stepped in, but they're stepping in too late is my thing. And I can't imagine being a black person in the Ukraine right now, Ukraine is already supposedly a racist country, right? With neo-Nazis there. And then on top of that, it's in the middle of a war with Russia. And then on top of that, your governments are late getting to you when they're supposed to get to you. So it's, I mean, Jesus Christ, it is a whole other thing. And my condolences to any black folk who are in the Ukraine right now, no matter where you come from in the diaspora. My heart is with you. I hope you guys are safe. I hope you guys are well. Stick together. Don't let anybody sweat you. Get out of there as quickly as you can. This whole thing is just a shambles. The situation with Russia is starting to affect business over here as well. When it comes to the financial world, a lot more people are going to be stacking on metals because, you know, stocks are literally in the floor, like on both sides, like not just Russia, but in the United States as well. Like stocks are literally in the floor. So a lot more people are investing in metals now, which means that a lot of bullion providers, or I keep calling it bullion because of Yosemite Sam, right? But a lot of bullion and metal providers are overburdened now because everybody's buying gold and silver now because of this war situation. And I don't know how to feel about that, because the thing is, natural gold, which is what the currency is based on or supposed to be based on, natural gold is always going to be hard to come by. It doesn't matter how in demand it is. It's always going to be hard to come by. And the people who are going to have the most of the reserves there are always going to be national banks or huge banks. Like, so it's not, for me, it's not a case of the gold standard being unsustainable, because for me, it's, for me in a situation like this, I don't think it's unsustainable, but it does make me wonder about how economic structures will change because of the gold standard. If more people are buying metals, then how does it affect the gold standard, or, you know, and what will come of it? I mean, I don't necessarily, I know what I'm saying, but I just don't know how to word it. But yeah, currency is changing already because more people are buying metals. Technology is being overwhelmed as well because of all the evacuations that are happening in the Ukraine. There's no land or air travel. All of that has been suspended. I think it's been suspended in Russia as well. Yeah, like everything has just happened so fast. Everything has just happened so fast, and it's just difficult to know. Man of Valor 7, when it comes to your targeted experiences, when it comes to your targeted experiences, what it would help to do is to put everything that they're doing to you, like just note it down and have evidence, and then upload it onto your channel. Maybe at some point we can have a live and discuss what is actually being done to you, because, you know, we both know targeting is never ending. So I feel like, yeah, that's probably what you should do. And if they're doing that, then you need to notify police. Like, I don't care if they end up turning around and saying you're crazy or what have you. If you're keeping it logged and anything happens to you, then it means there are several phone calls or several reports that have been made to police that the police have ignored. So you've put it basically back in their pocket, right? So yeah, going back to what I was saying before about the economic situation. So more people are stacking, more people are buying gold and silver because of the war situation. Stocks are in the floor, and it's only a matter of time before that affects literally every other industry. Speaking of which, I've got to talk about the ports, right? Do you remember when I said that China had economic superiority? What this means is not that they have the most money, but it means that strategically, they're in a better position than we are because um, the largest owners of ports in the world right now are Chinese people. Chinese people own most of the ports in the world. They own about 100 ports in 60 countries. So when it comes to anything to do with the war effort, I mean, when it comes to food, they could easily starve people out if they wanted to. Now, the ports are not actually owned by the government. They're owned by a Chinese business, but you might as well just say it's owned by China, that China owns like 100 ports in 60 different countries, which directly affects imports and exports. So for me, it's they've got the advantage in that sense. And then you have to deal with the fact that both Russia and China are more technologically advanced than... So China are more technologically advanced than the US. And then Russia are more technologically advanced than the UK. So they've got technological advancements over us. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. The US has more aircraft carriers, okay? Which means they have more aircraft, right? So the US have got more aircraft carriers, but the Chinese have more ports. The UK and the US, they have several other like developed countries behind us. We have several developed countries behind us, but Russia and China are emerging, and they've been emerging for decades. And China have been really smart because they've operated through soft colonialism first before they started preparing their armies and growing their population. So they started with soft colonialism before building on everything else. So when it comes to how this so-called war might pan out, it's difficult to say. And then we have to factor in North Korea as well. They might not be technologically advanced, but they have the will. They have the will to pop off if they get the call, they get the call from China. I don't know how well China and North Korea get along, but if China and North Korea were to kind of say, hey, listen, we've got to handle these Westerners, North Korea, I completely believe that North Korea would jump on that shit in a minute. Okay? Putin just threatened China. Seriously? I gotta look this up. Putin just threatened China. That is nuts. Like, how are you gonna threaten China? Like, oh my God, that was such a wrong move. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Putin threatens China. I'm looking this up right now. Oh my God. Oh. Vladimir Putin threatens to bust Xi Jinping's Olympic dream with a war in the Ukraine. Oh my God. So basically the Ukraine situation. Yeah. No, Ukraine are doing it real big. Like Ukraine are really, really holding their defensives. I underestimated the Ukraine, because I'm thinking, I'm over here thinking the bigger guns win. But sometimes it's about having resilience and having like solidarity as a country. Sometimes that can matter more than any of the weapons you have. But yeah, Ukraine surprised me. Ukraine are holding up pretty well considering everything that's happening to them. But yeah, damn. So, oof, this is messy. This is really messy. This whole situation is extremely messy. Let's just see. And China are pushing back against the US. So basically, China don't have a dog in this fight. So they're not friends with Russia, but they're not friends with the US either. But something tells me that Russia and China hate the US more than each other. So let's just see. Yeah. Yeah, this situation's a mess, bro. Yeah, it could literally affect the whole world. This is literally going to affect the whole world. Like I've been saying. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is big. This is a lot. Speaking of weaponry, I'm noticing that I'm being fired with electronic weapons every time I start singing. So these people get on my nerves. Like, these people really fucking get on my nerves. Like, they honestly they honestly think they can play you like a fucking sim. So every time I get online, or even when I start singing, especially when I start singing, that's when the weapons come on my lungs. You were looking at military ranks yesterday. What did you find out? So these weapons were being fired at my lungs the whole time, and I didn't know. I didn't know. But yeah, the weapons can be used to irritate your lungs, which is not a secret. You know, but yeah. This shit is messy. This shit is messy. And again, we've got Havana syndrome victims over here in the UK being acknowledged. How long do you think it's going to be before Russia or China end up being blamed for those attacks? So you've got people in this country being attacked with electronic weapons. I mean, you're seeing it live on camera, because I ain't been coughing once before I before I started singing. I wasn't coughing once. And then all of a sudden I bust out a note and I start coughing my guts up. No. So we already got Havana syndrome victims. US has the most aircrafts and aircraft carriers, like you said, yeah. Iran is number 9. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. People are sleeping on Iran. China has the biggest navy. That doesn't surprise me. But it's usually about aircraft superiority. It's usually about aircraft superiority. Yeah, it's about aircraft superiority usually. So China has the biggest navy. I wasn't actually talking about the navy. I was talking about the ports. But if you're going to have ports, I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to have if you're going to have the biggest, like, the most amount of ports on the globe, then it would make sense that you'd have the biggest navy, wouldn't it? So I think, yeah, it makes sense. But like I was saying before, like, every single time I get, I start singing or anything, doing anything remotely positive, I get weapons fired on my lungs. And when it comes to the Havana syndrome that comes with having these weapons fired on you, again, at least one TI has been acknowledged as being a Havana syndrome victim. And again, how long do you think it will be before they're going to start blaming the Russians, when we all know what the truth is? It's not the Russians, okay? It was never the Russians. In fact, I think when it comes to Putin, I think something happened to Putin. I think as a puppet, he probably served his purpose. And now the powers that be, or the UN, or whoever is behind the UN, I think they want to oust Putin and replace him with someone else. Someone who is a bit more malleable and compliable. I think they want him out. But he's going to be really, really tough to unseat, I think. I think he's going to be really tough to unseat. They patrol other Southern Asian countries, which are basically islands, yeah. Same happens when I do karaoke. Feels like I was smoking and I don't smoke. They do that all the time. Hit your throat, hit your lungs. Yeah, it's yeah. These people are gonna blame. These people are gonna blame Russia, China, Iran, Cuba, any former communist country. They're gonna blame any. They're gonna blame any of those countries for British people and American people and any so-called NATO allies being gang stalked or being TIs. Apparently, Poland has literally the most TIs of anywhere in the world, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Ukraine. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm not entirely sure that that's true. But yeah, so. But for me, when it comes to the war itself, I did say that it was about resources, and it turns out that I was right. Now, let's see. Ukraine. So basically, the reason why Ukraine is being invaded, I thought that it was honestly because of the resources that they have, because they have resources, natural resources in the Ukraine, like oil and manganese and salt. So they basically have a lot of resources down in the Ukraine. But I also found something else about the Ukraine. I found out that Russia has borders, and Russia is a very large country. But because the waters are colder, it affects their ability to import and export. Apparently, warmer waters are more conducive for imports and exports. So, where Russia is right now, the coast is not doing so good. But where the Ukraine is, the border of the Ukraine is directly against the Black Sea, right? They've got precious metals as well, yeah. The border of the Ukraine is directly where the Black Sea is, right? And where the Ukraine is, it opens up imports and exports for the entire world. So the most imports and exports, they tend to come through the Ukraine. So the Ukraine is valuable not just because of their natural resources, but because of where they are placed in terms of imports and exports. Most of the directed weapons imported and exported comes through the Ukraine. Trafficking, Ukraine. Anything that you can think of, imports and exports, they're not going to come through the Ukraine first necessarily, because they're not the only ones with ports. But Ukraine literally links the entire world together in terms of imports and exports. They are very, very valuable, not only in terms of natural resources, but in their coastline. Now, when you put all of that together, and Russia can't let Ukraine become NATO, I think it's a matter of Putin trying to protect his borders, as well as annex some of the resources that the Ukraine has. But NATO is not going to give Ukraine up without a fight. They're not going to give Ukraine up without a fight. There is no way. You telling me that the borders of the Black Sea that the Ukraine are on, it makes them literally one of the most used countries in the world in terms of imports and exports, and they've got natural resources? Forget it. Nah, NATO aren't going to let... No, seriously, NATO are not about to let Ukraine go without a fight. There is no way. So if Putin's going to go down there with weapons and start wars and shit, the US is going to take their aircraft and the UK is going to get all their homies rallied around. The Five Eyes are going to get involved, baby. It's about to be a bloodbath, okay? Now, we all know that the powers that be, the leaders at the top, they hate us more than they hate each other. So in reality terms, The politicians are not necessarily against each other at all. They're just shifting around. They're just shifting the leadership around a little bit. That's all they're doing at the top. But where we are down here, lives are already being lost, and it's about to get worse. Just because, this is the thing that people don't realize about so-called conspiracy theories. Just because somebody might put a false flag out, just because somebody might be engineering or orchestrating something, it doesn't mean there isn't real human cost. Just because somebody puts on a stage show, it doesn't mean that there isn't collateral damage. There is always going to be collateral damage with something of this scale. And with World War III, it is clearly another example of shifting the goalposts and getting us focused and worried about something else. It's clearly about shifting the goalposts. But here what? There are lives in the balance. There are people dying. And it's not even just through direct fire and direct warfare. People are dying because of people are dying because of the poverty that this is going to, oh my God, I didn't even think of this. The poverty that this is going to cause over time. Businesses and economics, they have already suffered irreparable damage from this week alone, okay? You don't even want to see what's going to happen in a month's time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Putin threatened Finland and Sweden, said they're next if they negotiate with NATO. Oh, shit. I don't think Finland and Sweden have armies, do they? I don't think Finland and Sweden have military. Because one of the Nordic countries don't have military. So Sweden does have military, but it's not a powerful military. Oh, no, it is. It's ranked 25th out of 140. Do Finland have military? I swear one of the Nordic countries don't have military or have low military. No, they do have an army. Okay, so Sweden and Finland have an army. I think what I did was I got priorities of economics conflated with like not having an army. I think I got them conflated because those countries are more focused on economics and economic growth than military. They're more focused on soft colonialism. Switzerland has never been in a war since 1750. Rotted. I'm wondering what's going to happen here because it's one thing to have European infighting, but Russia's not a part of Europe. So I'm wondering what will happen to Switzerland as well, because Switzerland is an economic hub. Switzerland have decidedly been neutral. It was decidedly neutral. They got an army like in 2000s, just like Germany. So Switzerland are armed as well. They're armed. They've just never used them. Just never used them like that. Yeah, this is really bad. They got an army like in 2000s, just like Germany. Oh, so Switzerland have got an army as well. So Switzerland are ready. Oh boy. Yeah, this is gonna get really ugly. This is gonna get really ugly. Now, Russia have the most warheads, nuclear warheads, but we have to consider the electronic weaponry as well, because they're not just firing it on civilians or like biological living beings. We know that the weapons are also fired on technology. Now, it's one thing to have the warheads, but if those warheads are disabled before they can even do anything, then Putin's threats are not going to mean a whole lot. Putin's threats are not going to mean a whole lot. If the US and the UK, especially the US, because it's the US who have the most advanced military weaponry apparently, right? So if the US decides to use their directed energy weaponry and acoustic weaponry on Russian nuclear missiles, then it's very likely that if the Russians win anything, it's probably because the US low-key let them win. Because with directed energy weaponry threatening your technology in the first place, because remember, they have different types of weaponry. There's a type of weaponry that's non-lethal. The non-lethal directed energy weaponry, they need to be charged as and when, so they're not easy to charge, and they're not usually very effective. But the lethal ones, the ones that actually cause death, they can be charged. But they can last for a very long time. The batteries can last for up to 10 years apparently, and when they want to do damage, they can do damage. So I'm feeling like with nuclear missiles, with technology of that kind, I mean, aircraft carriers wouldn't have a chance either, because all you'd need is a drone. All you need is a drone with the DEW on it, and it's game over. Like, you wouldn't need anything else. So it'd be very interesting to see how this pans out. Do you understand what I'm saying? It'd be very interesting to see how this pans out. But yeah, I'm scared. Sweden and Finland's armies are new. All the bankers and rich families keep money in Switzerland. Yeah. Ain't nobody touching Switzerland, man. Listen. It's Sweden and Finland are one thing, but if somebody touches Switzerland, oh my, everybody's gonna be on Russia's ass. If Russia touches Switzerland, if one piece of ash hits Switzerland, everybody's gonna be gunning for Russia. If one piece of fucking weaponry touches Switzerland, everybody's gonna be after Russia's ass. And that's on God, man. That is on God. You think anybody's going to let you mess with their money? And even though Switzerland are more for prepared than a situation like this, if anybody hits Switzerland, they're fucked. Anybody hits Switzerland, they're fucked. Nah. After World War II, all the way through 90s, they didn't have armies. Germany, Finland, and Sweden. I didn't know that. I didn't actually know that. So they've only had, wow. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this develops, but yeah. Yeah, it's just, this whole situation is scary, but Russia can go ahead and threaten the Nordic countries, but if they threaten Switzerland, boy, I don't think anybody's going to take that line down. I don't think anybody's going to take that line down. I don't think Putin would threaten Switzerland, but I'm just saying if he did, yeah. But I think Putin's out. They've been villainizing Putin for a long time. I don't think it's because he's a good man. I think it's a case of, when you're supposed to be a puppet and you're kind of forgetting your place. I think Putin is a very smart man, and he knows he's smart, and he knows he's vicious, and he knows he can get shit done. And I think because of the knowledge of exactly what his skill set is and what his resources are, I think somebody like him would be very difficult to control. So whatever alchemical fraternity he's a part of, they want him out. They want him out, but they can't just get him out. They can't just get him out. They can't just toss him out. It has to be final. and there has to be an opportunity where he can't come back from it. So I think this war is one of the ways in which Putin is being messed with here. I think he's being messed with. The US fights Russia and China. Iran would use that opportunity to attack France and the UK. You see, that's what worries me. US fights Russia and China. Iran would attack France and the UK. Yeah, I believe that. I believe it. I do believe that. Or they would at least try. But then again, you have to remember we've got directed energy weapons down here. I don't know if Iran has that. So that's fucking worrying. That's really fucking worrying. Yeah. That's really worrying. Yeah. Who knew that real life would be like a fucking game of Risk? Ugh. The amount of people that are already dying, like... Oh, this shit is scary. Okay. Yeah, Putin is the new boogeyman. Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. It was Trump beforehand. The same thing that happened to Trump is the same thing that happened to Putin. They were both a lot of grubby men who got ideas about above their station. They were supposed to be perfect puppets, and they turned out to have, way too much power. And then alchemical fraternities got sick of them, which led to them being humiliated, or at least going through a humiliation ritual, which involved people being killed. So UK has a lot of aircrafts too. Yeah, America has the most aircrafts from what I gather. And the UK, yeah, of course the UK has aircrafts. Of course we do. Of course we do. Yeah. But it's just, this whole thing is really, really scary. But the wonderful thing is that as a targeted individual, it means that with everything that's coming out, it means that there's no longer this pressure to live a double life anymore, because it's like, you knew the truth all along. Everybody in your community, or everybody who was involved in your targeting or is still involved in your targeting, knows the truth as well. So you're over here, you're able to kind of live your life. And I feel like that's why with some of us, the torture is going to get worse, because we're over here living our lives on the right side of history. We didn't get involved in this shit. We didn't get involved in like prepping the whole world for fucking World War III. We didn't get involved in that shit. So like we can just relax and chill out and be ourselves. And yeah, we're going through pain, and yeah, we're going through agony, but we can afford to actually be ourselves. We can afford to actually do that. And it's for that reason why I think the torture will, against the gang stalking victims, the torture will get worse, is because we don't have a double life like the perps do. The perps know that it wasn't the Russians that hired them to fucking like fire electronic weapons on us. It wasn't the Russians that hired them to fucking, in your case, Man of Valor 7. It wasn't the Russians that hired them to, hired people to poison your food or break in your house or nothing like that. It wasn't the Russians that hired people to come after me. Had nothing to do with the Russians. Everybody, we know that. We hold the truth in our pocket. But the perps who know what's going on, and they've been knowing what's going on because they've been forewarned, now they're walking around having to live double lives. We don't have that problem. We don't have that problem because we ain't been lying. So we don't have that issue. The perps have such dark energy and eyes. They're fucking stupid is what they are. They're fucking stupid is what they are. Somebody hires you to fire weapons on somebody. Somebody hires you to elevate somebody's stress so that the weapons can get an electrical signal. Like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen, bro? Like what? Like on some real shit. What did the perps think was gonna happen? Did they think they were gonna do this and everything was gonna be hunky dory? Come on, come on. What did they think was gonna happen? So because we can't sing anymore, suddenly the war's over. So because we can't sing anymore, suddenly all the killing stops. Is that how it works? So because we can't sing anymore, the economy isn't down the crapper, because it seems to me that everything that we're going through is exactly what's causing this fucking downfall in civilization right now. Like they knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew it wasn't going to lead to anywhere good. They didn't care. They didn't give a shit. So fuck them. It's true. They didn't care. They didn't care what would happen to us. They didn't even care what would happen to themselves. And now they're right in the midst of a World War III that they helped to fucking create. So the perps have got to walk around living a double life, and every gaslight, every piece of street theatre that comes out of their mouths, they got to remember what side of history that they're on. And where they were when this whole shit was going down. Because they were a part in making, they played a crucial part in making it happen. And they have to walk around coming after us, knowing that. Listen, for all the shit that I've been through, it just makes me realize there's no greater torture than knowing that you've destroyed the world around you. And for what? I don't have that on my back. I will never know that. I will never know that pain. I will know the pain of electronic weaponry. I will know the pain of physical torture. I will know the pain of being called out my name, being disrespected everywhere I go, having my privacy breached. I will know the pain of all of those things, but I will never know the pain of knowing that I doomed the world around me to fucking die. I will never know that pain. And thank God. Thank God. You know what I mean? But yeah. It doesn't stop the situation being scary, but at least I can, if these weapons kill me, and I used to be worried about that, but I'm not even worried about it anymore. Like, if these weapons kill me, then at least it would have done so before I had to live with the full weight of the stupidity of what the perps have laid before everybody. At least I wouldn't have to suffer the public stupidity right along with them. At least I wouldn't have to suffer the perps' selfishness right along with them. At least I wouldn't have to suffer with any of that. No amount of singing and no amount of readings and no amount of internet usage could ever compare to the knowledge that I was on the right side of history this whole time. Couldn't compare. You can't compare to that. Can't compare. There's no comparison. I don't care what anybody says. No comparison to that. At least with me, I can honestly say that through my selfish actions and through my, entirely focused on my pain and what I'm going through and my torture and this, that, at least I can say that my selfishness, it matched with the good of the world as a whole. My desire and my duty, they met in the same place. At least I can say that. Nobody else around here can say that. None of my perps around here can say that. None of the people torturing me can say that. I can, though. Go ahead. I don't need fucking karaoke. You got it. You got it. You got it. It's all right. You can have it. What's it really worth? What's being good at singing really worth if I'm on the wrong side of history? I'd rather have no voice and be on the right side of it. know what I mean? But anyway, I've got to go. I'm pretty sure that I've forgotten something. So forgive me if I have. But this was a rant and a half, baby. This was a video and a half. You're like, watching this war unfold is going to be very, very interesting. But even if this Ukraine struggle ends tomorrow, World War III is coming. It's coming. Doesn't have to come through Ukraine, but it is coming. And the Ukraine border on the Black Sea, like literally leading to them being one of the most important places in the world for imports and exports throughout the entire globe. Like, listen, this is going to get ugly. This is going to get very, very ugly. But anyway, thanks to Man of Valor 7 for stopping by. And yeah, you guys take care. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.